For our traditional July meeting. And thanks to my deputy for stepping in during the month of June, and it's nice to be back at a formal meeting. Welcome staff and members of the press. John, Mr. Payne, nice to see you to the public. Tom, I believe we'll meet your new man there, James, very shortly. Nice to see you, James, and welcome aboard. And Hannah, we've got Hannah as well. Hi, Hannah, part of the planning team. Nice to have you and welcome. Welcome to members of the public. And we're just hooking up online now, correct? We're online, cool. And just for your online viewers or the online viewers, we've got a new seating plan you'll see there, so you can know exactly which councillor's talking at any one time. Is that correct, Shani? So a bit of modernisation as far as that the internet's concerned. So welcome to those viewers from all around the world. We'll get underway if that's okay, Councillor Kingi. If you don't mind giving us a blessing for the day, thanks. So. Thank you very much, Councillor Kingi. Okay, item number 1 is apologies, and we have from Councillor Truman this afternoon in accepting that apology. She's attending Pam Wilson, a local QSO community stalwart of Mangakino this afternoon, so we think about Pam and her whānau today. So Kirsty's gone out there with our best wishes, but certainly appreciate all her community work over the years. Could I have I'm happy to move. If someone's happy to second, Councillor Rankin, thank you. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried. Item 2, conflicts of interest pertaining to any of the items today. Has any councillors got any conflicts of interest there? Okay, no, we'll move on. Item 3 is the confirmation of the minutes of the ordinary council meeting that was held on the 29th of June. Any clarification of those minutes or seeking any information on those minutes?
Your worship.
Yes, Councillor Williamson.
Just 4.4, just adoption of the DCs. Just wondering whether there's any movement or progress on the point 2 with negotiation with the Kennewick developers. Is there any points?
No, we don't have an update as yet.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, it's a few weeks in, so it'd be nice to get some update at some stage, Mr. Ridd. Thank you. Any other items of interest there? Clarification? Could I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Park, seconded by Councillor Taylor. All those in favour, please say aye. It's against? Carried. 4.1, contract for the Taupō East low pressure water renewals. And we have Tom. Good morning, Tom. Good afternoon, I should say, sorry.
Good afternoon. Today my paper is about requesting award of our Taupō East low pressure water renewals project to CivTech for roughly $1.22 million. Just a little bit of summary for you. This is the first of many packages that we're going to have over the next few years. We've got a number of water main capital projects that we're in design for, and we've also got quite a significant water renewals budget, which is fantastic, and I'm pretty happy to be here at the first meeting of the new LTP with a contract to award. The project itself is for the extension of our Richmond Ave falling main, which we started a couple of years ago, I think 2017-18, that runs from our Titoki reservoir. It's what we call our low pressure zone. It comes down Ingle Ave along Richmond Ave, and at the moment we've renewed and upgraded to Matuku Street, and this project is going to extend that upgrade around the corner roughly to Marshall Ave. At that point the water kind of splits off, some of it heads straight across sort of some reserve and gully area into the Whareroa developments, and the rest of it sort of heads down onto Lake Terrace and then services Rainbow Point, heads out towards Waitahanui and the like. So this project is really about making sure we can get enough water into those areas now and in the future. So as growth continues, without this project, some of our existing customers will see some low pressure on their system. So it's quite an important project for growth. The second part of this project is very similar in sort of the reasons for doing it, but it's in a slightly different area. So it's now in our medium pressure zone, and that sort of starts from our botanical gardens reservoir. So the upgrades are sort of parts of Shepherd, Hyde, Victoria, and we're sort of also going to renew a number of the side streets in those areas, and that's just sort of that dig up once approach to try and sort of reduce disruption. That part of the project, the water from Botanical Gardens comes down onto Hyde, up Victoria, and then connects into our new falling main which runs along the ETA, which we installed last year, and so that services the upper areas of the Whareroa development. So again, it's sort of a growth related project, and again, if we don't do this, some of the customers in the higher elevation areas of that zone will see some lower pressure water over time. So it's really important for those reasons. So we've had this package out, we've got 8 tenders, which is really fantastic. A range of quality and pricing, but we were really happy and a number of tenderers could have delivered this for us. CivTech, who are a company from Hamilton, are our preferred. They had a fantastic submission and a really good price as well. They have worked for us before, so they did a project a couple of years ago which had a little bit of scope in Turangi and a lot of renewal in sort of the commercial area from sort of Countdown through to Taupo College. So they performed really well on that. That was quite a tricky project because, as you can imagine, there's a lot of sort of pavement. There's not a lot of nice grass berms that you can just dig up. So they performed quite well on that. There was a similar value project as well, and I would say that they are really keen on setting up in Taupo. They've talked about a new office, staff, that sort of thing, so I think it's quite exciting for them as well. From a budget perspective, there's a combination of budgets here, so there's a $900,000 budget for the sort of original portion of this project, which we've slightly expanded because of this intent to dig up streets once. So we've included sort of little renewals of some of the cul-de-sacs and the like. And so that excess budget that we need will be picked up from our district water main renewals budget, which is $4.5 million. So we've got a lot of extra projects that will come out of that budget. Just the last thing I'll note really is that I guess the pricing has been quite interesting. At one point, I guess, is that our engineer's estimate for this one was about 50k lower than the lowest price, and that says to me that probably what we're seeing is a bit of price fluctuation in the market. So, and we have a lot of suppliers, be it for pipe or steel fittings or valves or hydrants, there's been quite significant increases, be them 5%, 7%, multiple increases even over the last few months. So, or the last year, I suppose. So I think we're seeing a little bit of that, and probably our engineer's estimate hasn't quite kept up. And I did sort of elaborate a little bit on that in the paper, just to sort of make the note that if those sort of price fluctuations are sort of with us long term, then we could see a little bit of, like, we won't effectively be able to do as many renewals as we had hoped with that $4.5 million budget. And I sort of estimated that at 10%, whether that's bang on, it's hard to know. I mean, you can see here we've got pricing from 1.2 million to 2.1, so there is a big range there. There's other things at play, like contractors, how busy they get. Sometimes they sort of alter their pricing dependent whether they really want the job or not. Anyway, so sort of a little bit of a summary. Happy to take questions.
Thanks, Tom. Good to see a good number of tenderers there. We haven't seen that number for a little while.
Yeah,
So.
through this year. Yeah, thanks, Tom. Just on the, you mentioned the effective saving reduction of pipeline renewal linked deliverable within the current renewal budget of approximately 1 kilometre, or is it a measure of, or is it a cost or a measure in terms of length of saving?
So we're targeting
10%.
around about 10 10 to 15 kilometres per year within that $4.5 million budget. It depends. If we're renewing larger mains, they obviously cost more per metre than if we're renewing smaller mains. So it's a bit of a guess as to where we end up, but it's a bit of an estimate of about 10% or a kilometre of main that we might not be able to renew.
Oh, cool. Okay. Yeah, thanks.
Any other questions of Tom? So, sorry, Yvonne. Councillor Westerman.
Thank you. Just wondering, so these guys would kick off, when would they be able to start?
Pretty immediately. Yep. So what the plan is, we'll award and then they'll have a little bit of mobilisation, but they'll be starting pretty quickly.
And it'll take how long?
I think we did have a bit of negotiation on this. I think it's about an 8 to 9 month turnaround. Yep.
Sure, it'll have confidence in getting it completed on time because they've got a woman CEO, which is fantastic, which is probably not that common in the engineering field. So just googling the company now, it looks like a very environmentally based company as well. So that's good news. So thank you, Tom. Any other questions of Tom? No. All right. There's a recommendation there that we accept the tender from Subtech Limited for some $1.223,305.37. Happy to move. Councillor Williamson. Seconded. Councillor Leonard. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carried. Thank you, Tom. 4.2. Approval of submission on the draft Natural and Built Environment Act Bill and Parliamentary paper. Hilary Samuel. Yeah, sorry. Good afternoon, Hilary.
So, just very quickly, perhaps this might have been something that if we'd had a little bit more time, we might have come and had a workshop with you, but they've only really given us about a month to respond. The submissions close on the 4th of August. So I guess just a signal that we have put the staff submission together, happy to take any comments or amendments, and if required, we can add some more in following today if there's any points that you feel like we've missed. One thing that I was keen to add in, and this is since the agenda was put together, we've since seen some further information from LGNZ, so we'd be quite keen to add in our support to their submission as well. We haven't actually seen their submission, but we've seen some of the information that they are going to be basing their submission on, so that might be something that we add into paragraph 2.2 to support their submission as well. So I don't really have anything further to add. I'll take it as read, but really happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Hilary. Any questions? Councillor Boddy.
Thank you for that. If I turn to page, I think it's 5, in regards of the parliamentary paper, on 2.2 you mentioned the Taupō community, yet through the document it talks about the Taupō District. So I'm wondering whether district could be worded there. Often we get the confused, Taupō seems to be the town. And
Yes.
then I had one to do with 6.2, which I think you may have mentioned, questioning whether that comment is still valid. Where it states, an example of this is the Taupō town, where we have taken a consolidated town centre planning approach. More and more businesses seem to have the ability now to move out of that town centre. So I'm wondering whether that is still applicable as from when it was first written.
With the district plan rules have not been modified in recent times, so the same district plan rules still apply to the town centre, where we've got rules which make it easy for commercial activities to establish in the town centre, and then more difficult for commercial activities to establish, say, in our residential environment or in the industrial environment. So those rules haven't changed in terms of our district plan.
I raised a question, Mr Chairman, in regards of, for instance, the Nukahau development, if that goes ahead, there's plans out there for shops, etc. So
Yeah.
hence the question, is that still valid? But
Okay.
thank you for that
Sure.
explanation.
Sure. No, that makes sense. So the Nukaho plan change example is a small neighbourhood shop type layout. So we do have allowances, I guess, in that residential environment for limited commercial activities for your local shopping. So neighbourhood centres, so your dairy and fish and chip shop and so on. So there are allowances within the plan for those types of activities as they're seen as appropriate.
Councillor Taylor?
Thank you, Your Worship. Ellie, thank you for your submission. I've read through it and I've had a look through the consultation paper for what it's worth. I appreciate your submission on our behalf, and I think it's well worded. My only comment would be it's very mildly worded, and thank you for that. I probably would have been a bit more out of line had I written it myself. I actually find the consultation paper, excuse me, vague and waffly, and it's liberally sprinkled with the words placeholder, including the schedules at the back. And this is not a comment on our submission, but it's a comment on the whole process being forced on us from central government. We are to consult or provide feedback on a document for which we have probably half of what's intended to be written. So in effect, we're blindfolded and said, throw the dart, see where it lands, to use a euphemism. So thank you for that. My real concern is around that, the lack of transparency on behalf of this consultation document. And secondly, the one-size-fits-all, where we as a district with a lot of community, cultural and things specific to us as a Taupō district will be lumped into a single plan for the Waikato region, a one-size-fits-all. So my very strong submission is that we as a council must be at the table, whether we appear at the select committee or have a very robust feedback loop going forward to ensure that our needs are not lost in the process. I mean, I could talk about the whole issue there with mana whenua. Good luck defining that. That's a whole huge beast in its own right. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. I thank you for your submission, just so long as we are really clear that we need to front foot this robustly going forward.
I can respond a little bit to that.
Yeah.
I'm more than happy to add some further strength to the submission, both written and can recirculate it after this meeting, if that would help with some of those concerns. The other thing that we can do is, at the moment I've said that we would not appear at the select committee. We can change that in the submission and say that we can appear at the select committee. The other thing that may give you some reassurance is, so what we tried to do in our submission was really focus on the local issues, the issues that were directly going to affect our community, because we knew that the likes of our GNZ and some of the other organisations would cover off a lot more of the detail. However, I've seen quite a few submissions just in the last few days, and there's a wide range of concerns, but also some consistent themes of concerns over the boundaries and how that is going to work across the country. So I can certainly add some strength, but there is from what I've seen, there's a growing number of organisations who are expressing that same issue. So we certainly won't be the only ones that have raised that as a concern.
Cool. Thanks. Councillor Mack?
Sorry, just can I add to that? And it's not about this just, it's about what we're talking about today, about the speed at which everything is happening. We're talking that we've got the three waters, we've got the representation review, we've got all these things that are coming to us and they're coming at speed and they've got a very short timeline. Can we as councils, it wouldn't just be us I'm sure, can we make it known that this really isn't like proper due diligence for us either in what we're doing? We're literally being given, this is the time you've got to do it by, make a decision. And it just seems really rushed in the fact that we're not being given, or we may be given the facts, but we're not given time to even look at them or even to talk to people about it. It just seems to be on everything.
That is a sentiment that's coming from every council through the country. There's not enough time. I don't know if we can actually physically adjust any timelines, Mr. CEO.
So it's all outside of our hands. We've certainly passed that on and through LGNZ and Taituara, the two peak organisations have been very clear in terms of that feedback. And we've also been very clear that, in our view, this is the cart before the horse. In a perfect world, you would do the future local government piece first, which would identify what gets done, where, and how that gets funded, and then things like the three waters, like the RMA, like emergency management changes, all that stuff would then follow, where it seems that the government has quite a clear and ambitious reform target, and they're pushing it all at the same time, which then puts the pressure on us all, because we've got this landslide of things that we need to respond to. So we're not alone. We're probably better placed than some councils just because of scale. You know, you think of some of the smaller councils around the country, and they're getting the same mountain of stuff with not necessarily the same awesome people sitting there that can respond to it, and even we're struggling. So so it's tough. It really is tough.
Councillor Rankin.
I just want to make the point that it is much more powerful in a select committee setting to personally present. It definitely has a much bigger impact than anything you will write. You do have to condense your presentation down and make it really punchy, but if you're not there, you won't have the same impact.
Councillor Leonard.
I guess just that we're at a formal meeting, I really appreciate what you've put together with the lack of information that you have, but I've just got real concerns around this, SNAs, three waters, the speed and haste of these things that are coming at us that have huge implications. I'm really concerned about the ulterior motives within central government and what they're trying to do, and that's not a dig at you as our staff member, but just that I really think that needs to be noted here. We're being asked to commit, do memorandums of understanding, etc., 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 and we haven't even had a chance to consult properly with our community. These things are going on without people out there really having any understanding at all of that, and that I have huge concerns around.
Yeah. I guess for the first time in some number of years we have a single party government, and here is the direct result. Carte blanche of operations to go forward. So yep, we take your concerns on, and I'm sure we will relate them to our group that represents us in Wellington, LGNZ. So
yes, and I think it was their information that's come through that has exactly raised that concern over whose responsibility is it to be conveying this new structure to the community. And I've already had emails myself from members of the public who are trying to work out what this means and asking us what our response is, and we're still trying to work it out because we haven't had much time. So it is an interesting question. So LGNZ, I'm pretty sure it was them who have already made that point as well. Also, just bearing in mind that the bill will come out as a complete bill for consultation as well. So we will have another, I guess, opportunity, but being in there early and being able to raise those concerns as early as possible means that you have the best opportunity to be able to influence it as it progresses.
Gareth?
I was just going to say, Your Worship, I guess as well as strengthening some of the words, as Councillor Taylor said, and saying that we're going to, we're asking that we appear at the select committee. The other thing that we can do, just to cover off those concerns of both Councillor Mack and Leonard, is a new introductory paragraph in there talking about the pace of change generally. So broadening it out from just the RMA and talking about the three waters and all those other reform pieces, and just throw that in there.
Yep.
Whilst this is specifically about RMA, it just provides that context, I guess, and it won't hurt.
Councillor Taylor.
What Gareth just said.
Okay. All right. Anything else, Hilary?
No, so we might just need to look at it, the recommendation, and just modify that a little bit to make sure it covers off any amendments that that we...
And you suggested one earlier, didn't you?
Yes, so I've got a little list here, and I'm happy to run that past anyone who would like to see it before it goes.
Cool. Well, just flick it out email. Councillor Boddy?
Just a very quick one. You've raised the issue, and it's not only here, it's in the three waters, of what our district is like in regards of other councils overlapping, etc.
Yeah.
Do you ever get together with all those councils and say, we're all going to sing off the same hymn sheet? Does that happen at all?
Yeah, and sometimes we rely a little bit on the regional councils to take on that coordination role. I've touched base with the Waikato Regional Council. I think I was the only one that they'd heard from. I've seen their submission. Bay of Plenty are definitely coordinating amongst their councils. We kind of, because our district has got quite a small area within their region, they sort of say, if you want to come Taupō, you can be involved, sort of thing. So, so we are definitely in conversations with those, or trying to get in conversations with those other authorities.
Yes, through you, Worship, I sit on the CE forum for both of those, Waikato and the Bay of Plenty, and His Worship sits on the mayoral forum for both of those as well. So we do share where we can through those processes, for things like the Three Waters, as an example, you'll know that there's the 22 councils within what's called Area B. Those 22 councils are all meeting here in Taupō next week, I think it is, to do just that, to try and have a joint position on some of those things.
Very good. Okay, so there is a recommendation up there. May we have a mover, please? Councillor Taylor, seen by Councillor Westman. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against? Carry. Thank you, Hilary. Nice to see you.
Yeah, you too.
Okay, 4.3, Health and Safety Report. Michelle.
Afternoon, councillors. Gareth, Your Worship.
Afternoon.
Oh, my
Afternoon, Michelle. Oh, thanks.
afternoon. This report is for the period of 1st of April to the 30th of June, and as you will see, there was quite a bit of analysis on the incident management, and I think we can take a positive from that we only actually had one medical treatment incident in that period, which, you know, for 61 incidents reported, it's actually a really positive cultural thing to note. You know, we're getting good reporting of across the board, and only one medical treatment injury. Also, I did note that there was a previous medical treatment from the last reporting period back in February, which I didn't report on at the time. It was an incident that wasn't a serious incident, and the IP got admitted to hospital that day, or went up to hospital, got discharged, and then had ongoing, had a slow recovery and was waiting on an MRI. So it ended up being an extended period of time. But she's returned to work, and People in Capability did a good return to work program with her, and she's now back at work. So, and I guess the other interesting part of the report was just the amount of behavioural incidents in this period, which I haven't really seen in the 4 years that I've been here, not to that level, especially around aggressive people. So if anyone's got any questions or comments they'd like to fire at me.
Cool, thanks, Michelle. Councillor Westman.
Yeah, that's absolutely fabulous news, isn't it? The one query I did have is about the KPIs, because you make reference to it, that they haven't been set and we're halfway through the year. When would they normally be set?
Normally it's a rolling, the KPIs, sorry. We did those last year in July, but just with this whole restructure thing, it hasn't happened as yet. I believe that they will be coming out. I would guess the executive team can fill you in on that, but I can assist in that. So,
Councillor Leonard.
yeah. That's yeah. I mean, that's a good question, definitely. You know, health and safety reps meet quarterly, and, you know, in the last meeting that we did have, you know, that they are very proactive and very, I think, well, health and wellness has taken a real forefront as opposed to safety, that health and safety used to sit at probably in the last few years. Yeah, and I think council has invested in a really strong wellness program, and I think it is appreciated by staff. Yeah, it is. It's not as tangible as safety is. Yeah. Mm.
The lift issue at the library, Michelle, was that someone stuck in the lift?
No, it's just went to carry some boxes in and went open the door, and the lift was on the different floor to where it should have been. So they just fenced it off. We got Otis and all things. So yeah, at least we're not on a multi-storey
So
high
the
rise.
doors opened and the lift wasn't there.
Yeah. So a sensor failed, and they came in straight away, and we isolated it, and then they did an assessment on it. But once again, good reporting, high risks, high potentials.
Cool. Very good. No more questions for Michelle? Thank you very much. Nice to see you again. And as Councillor Westman said, good, reasonable numbers and non-activity.
Yeah, there's a lot of
your
positives
department.
to take from it.
A lot of positives, So
Thank
that's
you.
cool. All right. Thank you very much. Can I have a mover, please? That received the report. Thanks, Councillor Park. Seconded by Councillor Guy. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. Right, we have 4.4. Receipt of final statements of intent. Julie,
Yeah,
nice to see you.
Thank you. Tēnā koutou councillors. Really, this report is simply to receive the SOIs from your council-controlled organisations. So you've been through the process of seeing the drafts and provided feedback. So it's simply for receipt.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you very much. Any questions or queries on the statements of intent? No, if I could have a mover. Thanks, Julie. Yep, moved by Councillor Boddy, seconded by Councillor Williamson. All those in favour, please say aye. It's against, carried. Thanks, Julie. 4.5, correct? Yep. Council engagements, no changes to those, Shane? No? All good. Have a mover, please, for those. Thank you, Councillor Kingy. Seconded by Councillor Guy. All those in favour, please say aye. It's against, carried. 4.6. 4.6. Members report. There's no CEO report this.
No, because it's the end of the financial year.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah. Members reports. Anyone got any members reports? Hey, Councillor Buddy.
Stuart, just very quickly, we had an access meeting last week, and I think the gentleman's first name was Harrison. This is new. I've got to say, he was very, very impressive with his knowledge for a short time in the job. Quite a likeable person. So, what I found interesting was he handed out, and I know the probably can't see it, is this diagram here in regards to Tongariro Street. One of the issues we have in access is, let's say, 2 mobility car parks. Now, things have changed to the degree that if you end up in a wheelchair, motorised or not, ACC give you a choice of having a rear access from your van or a side access. Now, if it's side access, you need 2 car parks. On the driver's side, 1 spare one. If it's a rear access, you're going out into the traffic, and with the new configuration of Tongariro Street being 1 lane now, that may well be an issue. Now, there's not many persons involved. That's been passed on to management. In fact, I think one on the corner here goes round to where the ANZ Bank is. The other question raised was the new cycleway going past the bus stations there in regards of access for the pedestrian versus the cycle versus the bus traffic. So I don't know, I think I've mentioned it to John, whether that's going to be carried on. So they're small issues, but they're quite important to those that need those facilities. And I come back to the ones about age-friendly seating.
Cool. Thank you.
So your worship, just on those ones, the team will take those on board and get answers back.
And just very quickly, Mr. Chairman, I think I raised it recently in regards of Scannell Street letdowns. It turned out to be a communication failure from one person to another. I raised that question. Contractors don't normally leave a job and come back. So hopefully, that's now been taken on board. The conversations must take place.
Cool. Yep. So, and of course, the TCTC working committee or whatever, right? What's it called? Always that commentary to those members of that group would be appreciated too. Yeah, let us know and we'll ask. Then we can ask the question at the meetings here. So, cool. Thanks, John. Right. Any other members report going around? Kathy, Councillor Guy. Sorry.
Yes, just a heads up that I attended along with Councillor Williamson last night the first New Zealand geothermal meeting week. Great night at the Great Lakes Centre, 5 exceptional speakers, and I think that we should be very proud of the fact that we're seen as the centre of excellence for geothermal in our region. Some exciting things happening. CEO from Contact spoke at length about issues, and the theme of the week will culminate in a careers evening or afternoon for our schools. You've got various people from the geothermal industry going out into schools this week, encouraging students to look at geothermal as a career. So very exciting.
Cool. Oh,
and the theme, of course, is around not just around generation, but the future.
Yep.
So no, very good. So thank you.
Cool. Is there more? There's more stuff on, obviously, during the week.
Yes, there's a number of meetings held with GNS, Contact,
Right.
Mercury, all kinds of geothermal.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, and a
Great.
breakfast tomorrow morning as well with guest speakers.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that, Councillor Guy. Councillor King. All good. Councillor Leonard.
I guess just reiterating in a formal meeting, thank you to the council and our local police for their help with the groundswell protest. I know that it was appreciated by those people organising the event.
Yep. Cool. Yep. Councillor Mack.
Actually, Tonganui and I, or Councillor Kingy and I went to Business After 5 last night from Amplify in Turangi, and actually Rotorua Forest Trust were one of the speakers, and actually they're doing some great things that we don't know about, which is not just forest, obviously. They've branched out into tourism, and they're doing if you like, holidays, if you like, up to the mountain, etc., or up to different places they've got. But the big one they're also doing is they're doing new pest control. So they're looking at getting away from 1080 and actually trying other things, which obviously is quite a big thing for them, but it was quite very interesting, and some other stuff they're doing with a bike track, etc. So for Turangi it's going to be some good stuff. And the other speaker actually was Jono, the CEO of RAL, which was quite interesting because they're actually in quite a good place. He said they had 42,000 people on the mountain since they've opened, and they had their best day last Saturday, I think they said it was. So they obviously have issues with getting staff, because they normally get people coming in from abroad, but now they understand as well that actually the people that were getting in from abroad were actually people that could do it here. So they actually have their hands up and said that they need to start training people locally, and actually he's now taken that on board, and hopefully it'll just be more employment. So
It's good to see
really good.
their profile at careers expos and all that sort of thing too. It's good. Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Mack. Councillor Rankin. All good. Yvonne. Thank you very much. No problem.
Chair, went to the official opening of Adamata Cafe, which was opened by our Deputy Mayor. I attended a COVID boundaries workshop in Hamilton with our Deputy CEO and one of our emergency managers, which for once being the tail end of the Waikato fell in our favour, and there's no issues. The blessing and the opening of the Landing, which is a new indoor entertainment facility, and I'd just like to say on record a big congratulations and thank you to Jamie Kean for investing in the Taupō District in that way. The Caldera Advisory Group, which is sort of just getting itself back up and running now the Waikato have taken over the administration from the Bay of Plenty, and also like Kylie, a hell of a protest. Wow, it was a hell of a protest. There were hundreds and hundreds of people there, and it was great to see the community support that.
Thank you, Councillor Park. Councillor Williamson.
Yeah, you wish we attended the Friends of Museum meeting a couple of weeks ago, and also, like Councillor Park, attended the opening of the Landing and the blessing a couple of weeks, 2 Fridays ago, was it? Yeah. So,
Great, the feedback's been great so far.
fantastic,
Yeah. Very good, Councillor. I just to mention the passing of a couple of identities. Tom O'Donnell, everyone knows Tom. He's been here most of his life ever since he came out from Scotland. Well-known local painter, and Brian Walkington, who's always been there. Acacia Bay, now retired from farming 30 odd years ago, but has been a big part of that community out there. So just to acknowledge their commitment to the town, and unfortunately to their family, the passing of those two individuals. So we have a mover. Can we have a move for the? Thank you for councillors for the reports. Moved by Councillor Park. Yeah.
Something to do with the AC Bars private calls.
Oh really? Oh, the opening. I thought you were talking about passing away. Yeah. So yes, of course, yeah, the opening of the yeah, and thank you. The councillors came, looked magnificent. They really do. It's been a bit of kickback on the price, but I think that might have gone away. I'm not too sure. It's calmed down, yeah, yeah. So thank you, Councillor Body. And thank you for the councillors coming to that opening. All right, we will move on. Resolution there. We received the report. Have a mover. Thank you, Councillor Park, seconded by Councillor Westman. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, carried. Okay, thank you, members of the public, and those out there on live stream. We will see you next month.